Welcome to Mind Body Monday, and thank you all for joining me. In today's Mind Body Monday, we will explore how much your genes actually control your destiny. We're going to take a deeper dive into what your genes can actually reveal about your future health. And then I'm going to share with you my 7 pillars for vibrant health, regardless of what your genes may tell you. And then there's a live Q&A at the end. So let's just kick off. I'm just curious, just type in the chat. So many of my patients have asked me, if their current health condition was inherited because their mother, their father, their grandparents had a similar condition. In other words, does your DNA equal your destiny? Just type in the chat, yes or no. Do you think your DNA equals your destiny? Just yes or no. Give me a sense of what you think. So a lot of people have typed in no, no, no. Okay, those are a capital NO. I guess that means no. That's great. Okay, possibly with a question mark. That's an honest answer. Very good. So stay on. And let's look under the hood of what's really going on. And go ahead and just type again in the chat. What percentage do you think your genes play in altering or influencing or dictating your health? Just type a percentage. 20%, 80%, 100%. How much do your genes actually dictate your health? Go ahead, just type that in the chat. Let me see. 50%, very good. 30%, very good, Esther. Who else? How much do your genes actually dictate your health and well-being? Your physical health, your mental, emotional health? 45%, someone else has put in the chat. Thank you. So 25%, 20%, okay. The numbers are dropping. Let's have 30%, someone's written. Thank you. Let's have a look. I'm going to kick off with a story about a patient that I'm actually seeing currently, and I got an email from him today. I'm going to share that information with you at the end of today's Mind Body Monday. But let me just tell you what happened. About 3 months ago, a 38-year-old man contacted me, and he reached out because he was diagnosed with a rare autoimmune condition called hemolytic anemia. Now, this is a rare autoimmune condition, and it happens when your body mistakes red blood cells for a foreign substance and enemy, and then mounts a massive immune attack on red blood cells. Not a good situation at all. So if you do a quick, Dr. Google search, you're going to read that treatments include medication, surgery. I'm not sure exactly what they're going to cut out, probably the pancreas or spleen. Rare cases, a blood transfusion, but if it's not managed properly, it can be fatal. So he reached out to me because he was given 60 milligrams of prednisone by his doctor, his hematologist, to manage his situation. And he was able, on his own, with his hematologist, to bring it down to 40 milligrams. But if he dropped below 40 milligrams, then his blood markers went haywire and his flare-ups got worse. So he was stuck. And his hematologist said, this is the best we can offer you. And, he knew that being on steroids long-term is not a good idea for his situation. He also has atopic dermatitis, which is a common form of eczema. And he's had this as an infant. And not only that, his parents have, I think his father and his grandfather had some sort of autoimmune disease. And his mother had eczema and also asthma. Those two are related. So he came into this world loaded with this autoimmune condition that reared its head when he was 17 or 18 years old, but the eczema, atopic dermatitis he's had all his life. So this is what he presented. He asked me, could I help him? He also asked me, does this mean that his children will just pass this baton down the generations. So let me just pause on that, and I'm going to come back to his situation towards the end of Mind Body Monday. But many of my patients feel trapped or stuck with whatever health condition they have, especially if there's a family history. And I get excited because I share with them the incredible research that's done on the human genome. And scientists expect that by 2025, over 1 billion people will have access to DNA testing, specifically as the price comes down with new technology. And there's been incredible meta-analysis, huge studies that have shown that only 20 to 40% of our health is determined by our genes. So when some of you wrote in the chat 30%, 20%, 25%, possibly with a question mark, the news is out that 20 to 40% of our health is dictated by our genes. Let's turn that on its head for a moment. What that really means is 60 to 80% of our health is really in our hands, God willing, so to speak. In other words, the choices we make, the sleep we get, the exercise we do, the lifestyle factors we incorporate. I'm going to go into and share with you my 7 pillars shortly. But all these things are that 80%, let's call it, and they influence the outcome of our health and well-being. And I want to explain with you a little bit of the science, how this works. I did run this by my 14-year-old before Mind Body Monday, just to see if it made sense to her. And she was a little Google-eyed, and I did sort of simplify it even more. So stay with me, because this will help you get leverage over yourself. When you understand what I'm going to share with you, it will hopefully empower you more to step up your game in the 60 to 80% bandwidth, where you can really influence your healthcare, your health and wellness, no matter where you are on the health continuum. So here we go. So the field of epigenetics is really what I'm diving into. I'm really trying to simplify it as much as possible. So let's start with this nomenclature, what this means. Epi is Greek for above. Epigenetics, it's above, epi, something is above the genes. So it's above the genome. So what's a genome, she asked me. So a genome consists of chemicals that modify or mark the genes in a way that tells it what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. In other words, the epigenome is instructions telling the genes how, when to behave. You can almost imagine it that the genes are like the keys on a piano, and the epigenetic structures, or the epigenetic instructions, is the piano player sitting at the piano. So those keys may be fixed, but he or she will create their own concerto, their own music, based on the choices on which keys the piano player selects. So she liked that. She loves music, and she liked that analogy. Now, for some people who want to hear it a different way, so I've created another metaphor, because we need different ways to help us understand this. At least I do. Because when my patients come to see me, I'm always looking at ways to really simplify complex topics and make it really graspable. And it's almost like the genes are the computer hardware. So you've got a computer hardware, or your phone, and it's the hardware. You can't change that per se. And then the epigenetics is the software. And you can always get a software update. You can always download a new version. And that will modulate or modify how the hardware works. So the epigenetics sits above the genes and gives it instructions, or the piano analogy, or the hardware software analogy. But either way, the genes can be change their expression. Disease states could be turned on and off. Inflammation could be turned on and off depending on what instructions that piano player gives or which keys he chooses. So I hope this has clarified quite a profound concept in a way that you can handle this. But what this means is that our DNA is just not our destiny. Again, 60 to 80% is really more or less in our hands. And this affects our physical body, our cells, our mitochondria, our ability to create energy, our mood, and everything about us is all influenced by this field, exciting field of epigenetics. So when this patient turned to me, he felt stuck, but I knew there was an answer. And I was just, my deepest prayer would he just stay the course to be able to see and feel the benefits of the program. And I'm going to share with you an amazing graphic I sent out to my list this week that helps people understand what this journey is about. So just stay with me a little bit. So this is a place here in Mind Body Monday where I've just shared some data with you, and it could be a little bit heady. So let's take a Mind Body Monday breather. And for this breathing technique, which I'm seeding because we're going to explore that a little bit shortly, is called the 4-7-8 breathing technique. It's really simple, and my 14-year-old also got this as well. So all you're doing, and if you can manage it, great. If it's too long for you, just modify it for yourself. It's 4-7-8 because you breathe in through your nose for the count of 4 seconds. You will hold your breath for the count of 7 seconds, if you can. If you can't, just breathe out earlier. And through pursed lips, you breathe out for the count of 8. Instruction clear? Let's give it a go. So when you're ready, breathing in for the count of 4. Breathing in, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath for 7 if you can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Breathing out through pursed lips. A long out breath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well done. You can open your eyes again. You've just done the 4-7-8 breathing technique, and research has shown this calms the mind, oxygenates the brain, relaxes the vagus nerve, reduces anxiety, and it helps you to get deeper restorative sleep. And I'm going to come back to this shortly. So you can practice this before going to sleep or any time where you feel overwhelmed or anxious. Let's jump back in again. So I'm going to share with you the functional medicine's framework for my 7 pillars to maximize and cultivate vibrant health. Now, there are much more than 7 pillars. I've built a coliseum, for the want of a better word, with many, many pillars. And this is just my top 7 for today. And when I work with people, I have a big bag of tricks with lots of different strategies, and I'm pulling them out as needed with each individual, with each group that I'm working with. So if you think something's not in this list, you're probably right. It's not an exhaustive list. It's just what's showing up today. And if you feel something's important, type it in the chat. And maybe when I do another Mind Body Monday, I'll cover that one more in depth, or we can discuss it in the Q&A. But I really do want to hear if you feel that something's not in that has been helpful to you or means a lot to you. So let's jump in. And just before we do that, I want to share with you an amazing piece of research that I discovered on PubMed by Dr. Cara Fitzgerald, where she did a lifestyle intervention meta-analysis showing a reversal of biological age for up to 3 years. In other words, what that means is she took a group of patients, changed some key critical lifestyle factors, measured blood markers before, measured blood markers afterwards, had a control group, placebo group, and then her group she took through. And what she discovered was using these lifestyle measures, she was able to reduce biological age by up to 3 years with these lifestyle interventions. So what I'm sharing with you is fitting squarely within the scientific paradigm. We understand and we're learning more and more how epigenetics works. And this is why I'm so excited about it, because whatever you do to move, you can move your health and well-being another inch, a millimeter, a meter, a kilometer, whatever it happens to be. But there's so much more we all can be doing. And this is what this session is about, is empowering you with the knowledge and the know-how, how to get the extra leverage in your health and well-being. So let's jump in. My first pillar. So you guessed it. What do you think the first pillar is going to be? I'm just curious. Just type in the chat. The first pillar of health and well-being. What do you think it must be? Anybody? You're thinking, that's great. Okay. The first pillar must be, and we've just had a little sample, must be breathing, because so much research has been done in the ability of breath work to reduce stress, lower anxiety, but most importantly, have an anti-inflammatory effect that breath work reduces inflammation in the body. It also influences the vagus nerve, and that has tremendous impacts on the parasympathetic nervous system. I'm not going into the hardcore science about that right now, but it's important to know that breath work is key. So what I just shared with you is this 4-7-8 technique, which does all of that. So you can do this for 2 minutes, for 3 minutes, for 5 minutes, just to get started. And why don't we just do one more sample? So sitting up straight in your chairs or standing up if you can, like I am, and then breathing out just to empty your lungs, breathing in for the count of 4, breathing in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath for 7 while you relax your shoulders. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and breathing out through pursed lips for 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and breathing normally. I don't know if you noticed just perhaps feeling lightheaded, maybe dizzy, or perhaps more relaxed. You can let me know in the chat what you noticed, but you only did that once. And just changing your breath in this subtle way alters so much within your brain and within your body. And if you do practice 2 or 3 minutes, let's say before going to bed or waking up again, we'll just set the tone of your day and help your biology and your biochemistry as well. Now, I don't know if any of you are familiar with the work of Wim Hof. It's definitely worth exploring. He has broken several world records for his ability to withstand cold through his breathing method. So for the last 2 years, I've been following him very closely. I actually have a plunge pool, and part of my morning routine at 5 in the morning, just before davening, I'm in my plunge pool, and it doesn't get comfortable as long as I'm doing it. It's uncomfortable. And that's actually one of the reasons I'm still doing it. But there's so much research about cold, but that's not what I'm going in for now. I'm focusing on the breathing work of Wim Hof. So you can do a quick search on your own, look into that. I endorse it, I encourage it. And it's best to get some guidance with someone. I practice the breathing technique with the cold immersion, and it just powers my day right from my bed into shore. As I've come out of a very cold plunge pool with some engaging breathing work, and then just ready to greet the day. So that's just about the power of breath work is our number one first pillar. The second one, go ahead, guess what the second pillar of health is? I've put it down for now as hydration. And the reason I'm doing this is because we can only live for a few minutes without oxygen and perhaps a few days without water. So it has to be up there. So let's just take advantage of things that are free, available. And if we just make small tweaks in these things that are so accessible to us in our Western lives, we can really advance our health and well-being. I just want to share with you a quick, fun way to test if you are dehydrated. And I call it the dehydration pinch test. All you need to do is hold up your hand. You take your pinching fingers like this, thumb and forefinger. You grab the skin on the back of your hand. This is the audience participation section. So if you're not driving and you can grab the back of your hand, lift up the skin for about 1 centimeter, hold it up, and then just drop it down. And if the skin goes down immediately back to its place, that's a good sign of cellular hydration. If you pinch your skin and you hold it up, about 1 centimeter pinch, and you let it go and it just sags up there as if it's hanging and suspended in space, it's a good sign that your body can do with some more H2O. Not all H2O is the same, and maybe I'll go into that in another Mind Body Monday. But bottom line is, if you did not pass the dehydration pinch test, then the invitation is to literally drink more water. My rule of thumb is a half an ounce or 1 ounce of water per pound of body weight. So that means essentially if you're 150 pounds, you should be having 75 to 150 ounces of water a day. And for those of you on metrics, if you 60 kilograms, 68, let's say 68 kilograms, then you'd want about 2.2 liters a day, which is about 9 cups. So you can do the math yourself that it's about half an ounce to an ounce of water per pound of body weight. And I tell my patients it's best to have that water up to 20 minutes before a meal so it doesn't dilute the gastric juices, and then wait for at least half an hour, 40 minutes after a meal when you do more hydration. I remember when I was studying in the States, work in at the Center for Mind Body Medicine and in functional medicine, we'd go to a restaurant, and the first thing I'd do before they'd bring the menu is welcome you and bring this big ice pitcher to the table, big pitcher, everyone's pouring themselves these huge glasses of cold water, which is maybe a lovely thing, nice show of hospitality, but at the end of the day, you've drunk maybe 2 or 3 glasses of ice cold water. It's essentially shut down the gastric system, diluted any juices that were there if they were there, and impeding the meal that's coming on. So it's a great show of hospitality, but it may not be the best way forward to get your appetite going for your meal. There are other strategies. So that's the first 2. Let's look at the third strategy, the third pillar. And someone has written in the chat, thank you, Atari, you've written food, movement, and rest. Yeah, you've covered a whole bunch of them. So let's look at food. I refer to something I call NDE. Everything needs some sort of, acronym. NDE stands for nutrient dense eating. I fully endorse a whole food, plant-based diet in general. There are always exceptions, but in general, because research has shown that the phytonutrients, the chemicals within the plants, actually work with our epigenome to turn off inflammation, heal the body, counter disease, promote healthy cells, detox the body. The list goes on. So what this means on a simple level is focus on wherever possible organic, wherever possible raw, green, leafy vegetables, sulfur-containing vegetables like broccoli and cauliflower. I'm not going into a whole deep dive on all the kinds of foods, but if you're joining my gut health course, I go into exact foods, what are needed for each person's situation. So you get really a prescription track to see what's needed for you. But know for now that nutrient dense eating is really important to have at least your plate 70 to 80% with whole foods. So if you do have fish, meat, chicken, or eggs or whatnot, you must have at least 70% of vegetables on that plate. So through nutrient-dense eating, we come on to the next pillar, which is you get to cultivate a healthy gut and a robust and diverse microbiome. In my previous Mind Body Mondays, I've taken a deep dive into microbiome diversity, why it's important and how to get it. But just know for now that a healthy microbiome and a healthy gut is an absolute pillar for health and vitality, and impacts the genome, which impacts the genetics and turns off the inflammation and promotes health in the body. Because with a healthy gut, you get to digest the food, absorb the food, it goes into your bloodstream in the right way at the right time. There's no leaky gut issues, doesn't promote inflammation, etc. And every cell in our body is totally dependent on a healthy gut. So it is really at the heart, the hub of health and well-being. So here's a little flow chart that I've made, because our health depends, our total health, mental, emotional, and physical, depends on the health of our cells. The health of our cells depends on the choices we make, and the choices we make affect the genetics through the epigenetics, giving that piano player better instructions, better information to choose which keys he's going to play, or updating the software on the hardware. That means that the hardware will be able to work better. What that means in everyday language is that the inflammation, disease situation will be turned off, and health promoting strategies will be promoted. Now, what I'd like to do, I know I haven't shared, I think I've shared 5 up to now. I just want to share with you a screen share about a common problem that I encounter in my practice. And I anticipate that, and I dispel this right at the beginning when I'm working with patients. And this 38-year-old man who reached out to me with this autoimmune condition and his atopic dermatitis, I said to him, look, we're going on a journey together, and the terrain could be harsh. It's unusual, unusual for you. I've been taking this trip for 30 years. I know it's cold. I've been up this mountain and down this mountain. So just stick with me. But what I am saying is I want you to understand how progress actually works. Because a lot of my patients say, listen, Avraham, I've made these changes. I've done these things you've said, but I'm not feeling any better. In fact, I'm feeling worse. There are reasons for that. So I explained to him that most people think that progress is a linear situation. You make changes, you start putting in these 7 pillars of health, and then you start to feel lousy. What's going on? And then people give up. And that's the problem. Don't give up. Let me give you the screen share and see if you can enjoy this picture. Okay. Just raise your hand if you see the truth about progress. Do you see the truth about progress? Yes? Super, thank you, because I can't see from my side if the screen share came through. So the truth about progress. On the left, we have how most people think progress works. On the left, we've got these smiley emojis with a linear ascension from his situation down below to smiley situation up above, with 0 challenges along the way. That's just not how it goes. And on the right side, I've shared a graphic of how it really works. We've got the starting place is the same, but then we've got tremendous ups and downs, and a lot of sadness and frustration and disappointment and anger and maybe hopelessness and not sure and uncertainty and breathlessness and who knows what going on. But eventually, if you stick with a program and you look, the trajectory is an upward trajectory, but it's just not a linear process. So if you're on my WhatsApp group, it's much easier for me to share these tips than on my email list. So if you have WhatsApp, and not everybody does, I'm going to share with you a scan. You can just hold your camera up to this screen. If you have WhatsApp, you can simply take your camera and hold it up, hold your camera on your phone up to this QRC image, and it will invite you to join my 1440 Thrive WhatsApp group. So you can just take a screenshot, you can save this picture, or you can hold your camera up, and that way you won't miss a beat, and you'll get these cool graphics that help me to illustrate for people how things really work. Amazing. I can always put the link in the chat if you missed that. Okay, so I'll put the link in the chat. If you go back to the chat, I'll put the link in the chat there as well for you. Super. So let's just continue our journey through this. So it's important to know that there's a pathway here, and don't give up. There are ups and downs, and you will get there. I'm committed to helping you get there. Let's look at number 5. 5 is, someone put it in the chat already, movement, exercise. You know, there's no right or wrong form of exercise. Everybody's different. Everybody's body's type is different. We all enjoy different things. And it's so important just to find something you enjoy. Take a friend, do it with a friend, do it with a spouse, whatever the case happens to be, do it alone, doesn't matter, but just move your body. I personally like walking. I've been practicing yoga since I was 16 years old. I have pretty much a daily yoga routine, and obviously doing cardio and weights, etc. But so much research has been done about the effects of exercise on the epigenome and the genetics, again, turning off inflammation and promoting health and well-being. In fact, there was a meta-analysis showing that something as simple as walking reduced markers of aging up to 16 years, really returning the clock back by 16 years. And a Mayo Clinic study showed that people who are regular walkers can add up to 15 to 20 years to their life. So we're not talking about high-tech stuff. You don't even need fancy equipment or fancy shoes. Just move your body. Let's look at pillar number 6. Pillar number 6 is sleep. And I'm a big fan of sleep, right? I have all these sleep hardwares and softwares to track my sleep so when I wake up in the morning, I can get a sense of my REM sleep, my heart rate variability, my heart rate, my pulse, my oxygenation. It's only because I'm geeking out in this because I'm helping people in this field, and I recognize how important it is. And last week's Mind Body Monday, I took a deeper dive, so you can see the replay on sleep and specifically the gut as well. So make sure you're getting your really 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep. And I'm a fan of power naps as long as it doesn't affect you, prevent you from going to sleep late at night. But up to 40 minutes, the research says it's great. It's not going to bother you at all. And you can see the replay for more strategies to get deep restorative sleep so you can wake up feeling great. Let's look at pillar number 7. Pillar number 7 is emotional health through emotional support. This one is so important. Another meta-analysis showed that people with healthy, supportive relationships live longer. And it's just as simple as that. So it's about cultivating friendships, reaching out, creating a network, sharing your ups, sharing your downs, being human. Then, one of my patients reached out to me feeling depressed, and he wanted the name of a psychiatrist to get antidepressants. And I said to him, do you mind if we just, if I ask you a couple of questions? And he said, sure. I said, look, if you need medication, there's no issue with that. That's fine. I'm just curious, do you have friends, you reach out to people on a regular basis? He said, sure, all the time. So I said, what do you mean? He says, no, on Zoom, on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Messenger, I'm chatting with people all the time. So I said, no, that's not what I meant. I meant, face to face, real relationships, real connection where you can, hug somebody, that sort of relation. And he looked at me and quizzically and he said, well, no, not really. So I said, look, you can go and get antidepressants if you want, but if I were you, I'd do a thought experiment, take the next 30 days, nothing's going to happen in 30 days. For the worst, just, have you got like a couple of friends you can reach out to, real people, like 4 people, let's say? Yeah, I got, in my neighborhood, there's 4 school friends. I said, great. Are you able to reach out to them maybe one a week or just connect with them and say, I haven't seen you for a while? Anyway, he reached out to these friends and they had a social club. They go and they play tennis once a week. And then once a month, they do some sort of round robin with another tennis group. And within a month, his entire life had turned around. His spark in his eye returned. He was connected once again. He was in a social supportive group. He just, it's all post-COVID. We get into our little micro lives and we forget about real human connections. So this is a longevity factor. This is a quality of life factor. So the invitation here is to make sure that our social network is being nurtured, that we have quality people in our life to be real with and share the ups and downs of our day, of our week, of our month, of our life with. And this way, it informs on a deeper level. Quality of our life affects our epigenetics and gives us the longevity and the wherewithal to manage the journey and the ups and downs. So let me come back to my patient. So I took him through my program, which covered most of these pillars. And 2 months into the program, that's 8 weeks. That's very short for someone who's been suffering since he was 17-year-old from this autoimmune condition in all his life from an atopic dermatitis. He said he's managed to get his prednisolone down to 1 milligram a day. And a week later, it was 0. It was 0. I said, well done for staying the course. He thanked me. I said, no, the thanks go to you. I'm just the Sherpa here. You did the schlepping. You did the changes. You did the work. He couldn't believe it. Then just today, as I was preparing for this Mind Body Monday, I got an email and he said, Avraham, my eczema has now cleared up. It was changing over the last, so this is 3 months now. He's 3 months into the program. His eczema from his entire life, 38 years, he popped out into the world with, crocodile skin. And it's cleared up. Now, do I think it will come back? Probably. He will probably have flare-ups and he'll learn to manage it as he falls off and gets back on the wagon again. But over the trajectory, he's turning off these inflammatory markers through affecting the epigenome, which is giving instructions to those piano chords and changing his health forever. Could it come back? Possibly if he, laxes off too much, just a reminder of how things are. Is it permanent? Absolutely not. His hematologist does not know what to say. And they're not into functional integrated medicine yet. So he's not saying like, wow, this is, what did you do? So he can copy, paste, and apply to his patient body. That's not where medicine is at the moment yet. It's catching up fast. But here is a fellow who just plodded along, experienced the highs and lows, and got the fruit. And now he's on my maintenance program to support him through diet, through lifestyle, through exercise, through all the 7 pillars and supplementation, and to really get him on track. Let me just summarize once again before we end and open up for questions. By following these and other pillars of health, my 7 pillars of health, what you're really doing is sending the right signals to your genes to modulate these epigenetic patterns that turn off disease, turn off inflammation, and turn on health and vitality. Thank you all for joining me on another episode of Mind Body Monday. Just remember, Mind Body Monday is all about where self-care is the heart of healthcare. All you need to do is take one small step in the direction of health and well-being for your mind, body, and soul. And I'll see you next week.